Hey Summoners, welcome back to another mid-patch update. My name is Irene and I'll be your host for this video. As always, we're here to follow up with any placements from the beginning of the patch and to keep you all updated. Make sure to stay tuned because we're covering every role on patch 10.8. Who's OP? Which champions have been knocked out of the meta? Stay tuned to find out. Do me a favor though and answer our question of the day. Which champions do you think are still useful if they only had one of their abilities? I think that Blitzcrank with his hook and Yasuo with his wind wall would still be pretty relevant, even without any other abilities. These are both game changers, so let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Now with that said, let's get started. As always, we're going to be beginning in the top lane. Our S+ and S tiers remain unchanged from our patch rundown at the beginning of the patch. Darius, Fiora, and Wukong are still the most dominant forces up there. Wukong especially has not relented one bit. He's currently drawing an insane number of bans. A 35% ban rate shows that players think he's absolutely busted, and the only other top laner that can trump him is Darius, who's still sitting at a 44% ban rate. As opposed to last patch, Wukong's ban rate has dropped, but his win rate is still quite high, and you should be picking him during any opportunity given to you. He's a great laner, impactful team fighter, and a decent split pusher as well. Our S tier consists of Garen, Mordekaiser, Shen, Kled, Jax, and Maokai still. Maokai is seeing more and more play. Players are catching on that this guy is basically the new Ornn. He's tanky, reliable, and a very safe pick. I know that Maokai is pretty boring, but especially if your team needs some crowd control or a frontliner, definitely consider picking him to round out otherwise questionable team compositions. Now let's talk about shifts on the list. First off, Urgot's win rate has been steadily climbing since his buffs at the beginning of the patch. He's definitely an A tier champion now. Buffing him and fixing his bugs has been a heaven sent for Urgot players. Personally, I feel like Urgot has been a borderline champion on the cusp of being OP, and these small buffs are just what he needed to finally find his footing again. If you've shelved him, now's a good time to dust him off and start playing him again because he's good. Urgot's insane damage output and crowd control alongside how tanky he is with Death's Dance make him an absolute monster when he's ahead. Next is Illaoi. While her play rate is still quite low, she's been silently taking over games. Definitely not silent in the games that she's in, but you get what I mean. She's been slept on for a while, and while Illaoi does have some exploitable weaknesses, this current meta seems to favor raw damage quite a bit. If you think about other champions that have been popular like Garen, Set, and Darius, it should come as no surprise that Illaoi fits into the crowd pretty well. Now finally, we've dropped Aurelia to the B tier. The current meta is extremely bad for her to find success in. There are just so many popular champions that can outbrawl her and prevent her from scaling. While she has the tools necessary to 1v9, it's difficult for her to stabilize anytime she falls behind. Next, let's head into the jungle. In the jungle, we actually don't see too many changes at all either. Although there were some extensive changes made this patch, they affected all junglers, so there weren't really any drastic shifts in power. We do, however, want to follow up on some balance changes that hit Summoner's Rift this patch. To follow up on those Evelynn buffs, her win rate has climbed a bit. Before these buffs, she actually held a fairly low win rate, and she's now stabilized at a 49% win rate. The immense amount of pressure she brings to the games, however, merits her as an A tier at the moment, regardless of her lower win rate. Plenty of champions can hold win rates below 50% and still be incredibly powerful picks. We're looking at you, Silas, and yes, we will be talking about him later. Master Yi's win rates have decreased, but only slightly as a result of the nerfs to his ultimate, as well as nerfs to funneling. After all, the nerfs were aimed more at his level 3 ultimate, but by then, he's already got plenty of items to compensate. He's still sticking around in the A tier for now. In our S+ tier, we still have Elise, Warwick, Zac, and Wukong. Wukong is broke in the jungle too. Please pick him if he's available. Our S tier features a new member as it now includes Fiddlesticks. Players are finally getting the hang of him, and he's terrorizing a Summoner's Rift game near you. Maybe it's time to switch over to TFT for the time being, just so you can avoid him. Fiddlesticks' tricky playstyle and high teamfight impact make him an excellent carry. Fiddlesticks can pick off players who are positioning poorly, or wipe out entire teams if they've decided to misposition together. Otherwise, the S tier also features Lee Sin, Olaf, Rek'Sai, Karthus, Shaco, Trundle, Nunu, Echo, and Graves. Graves especially has been an absolute monster in solo queue. His power is quite apparent, and his win rates in low elo are also climbing. He's the one S tier pick who's on the border of making a push into the S+ tier. For now, our analysts will continue to keep a close eye on him, but one thing that keeps Graves' win rate down is the fact that he, in spite of what you might think, has a decent skill floor that you need to work through before you can find results on him. As players get more practice on him, and as the player base improves altogether, we expect him to continue to crank out better and better results. The other change we might want to mention to the tier list is that we've bumped Dr. Mundo up to the B tier. One of Mundo's biggest weaknesses is that he gets quite low during his early clears. Well, it's technically a double-edged sword, because being low helps him clear faster, since jungle items now heal for 50% more when you're below 30%. And junglers like Mundo have a lot more safety as a result, and his win rate has climbed a lot this patch, and he's a much stronger pick than before. Now let's head over to the mid lane next. In the mid lane, we see a couple of shifts actually. Our S+ tier still consists of Fizz, Talon, and Diana. Fizz and Diana have been there for a while now, and they're going to stay there unless they get nerfed. And by the way, if you don't watch our other videos, I'll make a slight mention of our Sleeper OP, as well as our Korean build series. In one of our more recent videos, we covered a bunch of new Korean builds, including Press the Attack Fizz. If you think this build is troll, hop into a normal game and give it a try. Fizz is already a scary champion to lane versus, but taking Press the Attack on him makes him a nightmare to face off against. Now, moving on to our S tier, we still have Kassadin, Katarina, Echo, Cassiopeia, Vladimir, Zed, Yasuo, and our newest member, Sylas. Like we mentioned earlier, Sylas has yet to break the 50% win rate ceiling, but high elo players all know this as fact. He is stupid strong right now. His mediocre win rate can be attributed to a few factors, such as a high skill floor, being a volatile champion, and the fact that he's not the 1v9 monster pick in every game. When there aren't good ultimates to steal, then Sylas, well, he ain't it. However, most people are trying to 1v9 games, so you'll often see at least one good one that you can yoink from the enemy team. We've bumped Qiyana down to the A tier. This has been a shift we've needed to make for a while now, as Qiyana hasn't been performing too well ever since the Boots of Mobility nerf. The increased cost actually hurt her a lot, as she was a champion that would like to buy them as her first item, and then proceed to roam with them. Not only are the boots more expensive now, but early roams aren't as rewarding as before, because of shared kill EXP being lowered and players now receiving a mini home guard buff upon respawning. Overall, even minor nerfs, as long as they're numerous enough, are definitely able to take down a powerful champion, and Qiyana is no exception. Next, let's follow up on the buffs that Ryze and Orianna received this patch. Ryze, as expected, has had no notable changes to his win rate. Orianna, on the other hand, has seen her win rate jump to a comfortable 50%, right where we want her, perfectly balanced, as all things should be. She's back in the A tier for now because she's a safe, reliable pick who fits into basically any team composition. Next up, let's talk about those bot laners. First up, let's talk about our S+ and S tiers. Yes, Miss Fortune is still S+ tier. I actually have zero clue when they're actually going to nerf her, because seriously, she is due for some nerfs. In the S tier, we also have Senna, Ezreal, Vayne, Caitlyn, Jinx, and Kai'Sa. We've made some various shifts and dropped down Lucian and Draven because they aren't actually performing as well as the picks we just mentioned. Both Lucian and Draven are now listed as A tier picks, but still solid ones. But they aren't as overly powerful as the S tier picks. We overestimated slightly how big the Tristana buffs would be and have moved her back into the B tier. She's still in a better spot than before, but she isn't finding the success that many of us had expected. Kalista remains in the C tier, as we did expect. Her win rate has shot down drastically, but her utility still makes her a powerful pick given the right team composition. Aphelios, we're sorry, but not sorry. You're also going down to the C tier. Those nerfs hurt a lot, and his win rate has dropped down to a new low of 47%. Things aren't looking bright for this guy, and he might need some time away from the competitive scene before we see him receive any compensation buffs. Finally, let's wrap things up with support. Nerf after nerf after nerf after nerf, and we finally put a dent on the Senna-Tahm Kench duo lane. Previously, this was the uncontested best bottom lane, and now it's just a good one. We're no longer listing them as an OP duo, but you can still feel free to play them as they're still a solid one. Our S+ tier features a new member now, and it consists of Leona, Blitzcrank, and Nami. While we've been hesitant to place Nami as an S+ tier support beforehand, proactive supports that like to roam all took a minor slap to the wrist with the introduction of the home guard buff that players receive upon respawning. Since tank supports are now slightly weaker, we're more comfortable placing her as an S+ tier pick because of how dominant she is during the laning phase, and how well she can protect her teammates in the later parts of the game. She's been hovering near a 53% win rate for several patches now, so don't sleep on her. In the S tier, we have Thresh, Nautilus, Morgana, Lulu, and Bard as well. Morgana's ban rate is still well over 30% as players still hate playing versus her. She is a buzzkill for sure, so make sure you're ready to pick her up anytime you have the opportunity to counterpick your opponents. Finally, we've knocked Pyke down to the A tier, and we've bumped up Galio there as well. Like we said, roaming supports have been hurt a bit, and Pyke was barely holding on to his S tier spot. He's still an impactful solo queue pick, but isn't performing as well as other aggressive supports like Leona and Thresh. Galio, on the other hand, has been doing quite well as a support and as a mid laner. He's starting to gain a little more popularity as a support pick, and we're sure that is no coincidence. Now that concludes our 10.8 mid-patch update. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and also subscribe so you can stay updated with all the different kinds of content that we're releasing. Until next time, best of luck on the Rift, guys.